On October 10, elements of two Russian field armies, together possessing 40,000 troops and thousands of vehicles, attacked the Ukrainian garrison in Avdiivka, just northwest of Russian-occupied Donetsk in eastern Ukraine's Donbass region. It was the first and main attack of Russia's third annual winter offensive in its 22-month wider war on Ukraine. And it failed. More accurately, it has been failing. The Russian operation around Avdiivka is ongoing. But after advancing a short distance, a mile or so, north and south of the city last month, the Russian 2nd and 41st Combined Arms armies at best have stalled. Some analysts believe they actually are losing ground around the village of Stepov on Avdiivka's northern flank. It's no secret that Moscow's new strategy is to outlast Kyiv, to win a war of attrition. But the Russians can't win a war of attrition if they continue to lose many more vehicles and troops than the Ukrainians lose. In that context, the battle for Avdiivka has been a disaster for Russia. It's exactly the kind of fight the Kremlin can't afford if its goal is to grind away Ukraine's military strength. Around Avdiivka, it's the Russians who are getting ground down. The numbers tell the story. The Russian field armies have lost at least 411 tanks, fighting vehicles and artillery pieces trying, and failing, to capture Avdiivka. The Ukrainian brigades garrisoning Avdiivka, including the 110th, 57th and 47th Mechanized and the 1st Tank, have lost just 30 pieces of heavy equipment. Russian casualties, dead and maimed, exceed 13,000 in just this one sector. Ukraine's own casualties likely have been much lighter. Perhaps a few thousand. Yes, the Russian army in Ukraine, at least 400,000 strong, is larger than Ukraine's own frontline force is. Yes, Russia can mobilize many more replacement troops than Ukraine can mobilize. Yes, Russian industry outproduces Ukrainian industry. No, Russia's resources are not limitless. This is apparent in Avdiivka, where the Russians repeatedly have switched up tactics in order to preserve one portion of their force or another. In October, Russian attacks around Avdiivka were heavily mechanized, with tanks and fighting vehicles leading the way. When the tanks and fighting vehicles ran afoul of Ukrainian mines, drones and artillery, Russian commanders pulled back their remaining vehicles, and sent in the infantry, on foot. When the infantry got massacred, the Russians deployed more explosives-laden drones in an effort to sever Ukrainian forces' supply lines. That didn't work, either. Yesterday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky himself safely traveled to Avdiivka and shot a selfie within view of the front line. The most recent Russian attacks on Avdiivka have included tanks and infantry. But in the most critical northern part of the battlefield, in and around Stepov, the conditions, for the Russians, are unforgiving.